Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another How I Shot It. This week I'm talking to Eric McCallister. All right, Eric, thanks so much for joining me this week.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. This is I enjoy doing these every single week, and this is the first time we've actually got a chance to talk. I don't think we've even met yet, right?
Yeah, not in person, and I enjoy watching these every week. So I'll be right up front, a little intimidated being here. There's some pretty big shadows to walk in here, so I'm excited to be here and say my piece.
You know what? It's funny. I feel that all the time. I mean, truly, every time I interview people, I'm like, I walk away learning something, and two, I'm always like, man, these guys are just so super talented. So you certainly deserve and belong to be here, and so I'm excited to have you. In fact, I got to tell everyone just real quick, some of the photos I always get a sneak peek before we go online and do these interviews, and I noticed that a lot of the photos we're going to talk about is a lot about control of light and just keeping things small and simple. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's the lessons that people need to learn and how to use MagMod is you don't have to be eccentric and create big, lighting setups and stuff. You can keep it simple and small and really create impactful images because of it.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, that's the biggest thing is being able to control the light, get it where you want it, hopefully not where you don't want it, and then do it quickly and efficiently and move on.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here, Eric. Let's give everyone really quickly a heads up where they can find you. So your website is McCallisterphoto.com?
Correct.
And then your Instagram is Eric McCallister, or I guess Instagram at Eric McCallister. So
yep.
Guys, go check him out. Go follow Eric. He's an awesome photographer. You're based out of New Hampshire? Is that correct?
Correct.
Excellent. Well, Eric, let's jump right into this first image. I love these interviews because, again, it's a chance for people to kind of see some of these incredible photographs that people have created and then actually see how they made them. And what I think is interesting about this first photograph that we're going to pop up on the screen here is fireworks. And wedding photographers know fireworks are like fun, but also scary as heck. And I love, in your situation, this is a really interesting story. Why don't you tell everyone kind of what was going through your mind as this you're setting this up?
Yeah, so this particular image, I really had one request on the wedding day from the couple, and it was a picture of them with the fireworks. And just as a little bit of backstory, this is New Year's Eve, so this is, pretty much right at midnight, New Year's Eve. Imagine, a wedding party that's been going on for several hours, lots of drinks. I mean, you see a champagne glass in her hand. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to do something in like that 1 minute that these fireworks are going off over Boston Harbor.
Nice.
So you don't have much time. And there was another image I'd sent you that sort of shows the whole room.
Yeah.
You might be able to cut that and then back real quick. But
absolutely. We'll pop it up so people can see it.
Yeah, so this room is basically, it's a big fishbowl. It's a stateroom up in, it sits above Boston Harbor, Faneuil Hall, but it's all glass. So, to bounce a flash is just going to like ping pong all over the place. You're going to have hot spots and all that. So we try to think like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to be able to shoot towards the glass and then hit them with light so we can see, the couple?
Yeah.
What we ended up with was a mag grid, between them and the glass, aimed at them, trying to get their reflection in the glass so that we could focus on that and get a portrait of them. So the thing I love most about this image is there's just so many layers of it. The right-hand side, you actually have them. Then you have sort of center is them again. Out in the harbor, you have all this light over Boston and, over the harbor and the Navy Yard.
Yeah.
And then the fireworks. And and it was all done inside like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And then the one, go ahead.
I want to say the lights behind them now. At first I thought that was a mag gel, but it's actually, you were saying it's the ambient light from the band. Is that right?
Yeah. So the band, so I've got different versions of this as I was trying to get focus. I mean, I was actually panicked. I ended up using a flashlight lighting them. So my second shooter, it was holding the mag gel, or excuse me, the mag grid on them.
Yeah.
Actually had a flashlight next to them, kind of like this, so we could get a reflection so that I could get focus.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of lucked out with what was my favorite, which is this one, was the blue and the reds, working with the reds and the firework, and that what looks nice with the yellows and the oranges out over Boston. But
absolutely. You know what's interesting about this photograph, and for anyone who's shot, like if you would have had the couple, let's just say you would have had them up against the glass looking out towards the fireworks and shot them with the flash, every photographer knows that when that flash hits that window, you're going to see this bright spotlight of where that light hit the window. That almost like a specularity on steroids or something. And it makes it really difficult because that's exactly where your eyes are drawn in the photograph, is to that bright light. And so I love how you kind of thought outside the box here, and you said, you know what, I'm going to light the couple from the other side. And then by using the grid, you're able to focus that light and not have it spill under the window and create that, specularity again that we all kind of hate. So
I think it worked.
Yeah.
And I was pretty psyched for it.
It certainly did. And Eric, it's funny because for anyone who's watched these the last couple of weeks, I always say that when I'm doing these shows, there's certain shots that stand out for me. And I say, you know what, next time I have a situation like that, I'm going to do it. And I'll just call it the McCallister. So this is my situation where I'll just call this one my McCallister, where basically if I have a situation where I need to shoot some, something through the window, maybe position them on the other side, put that flash between them and the window, light them up and get a reflection. I love it. So right on. Yeah. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing about that shot. Let's jump over to this photograph where you have the couple. It looks like a typical day in New Hampshire with the ice.
Yeah. So one of the this kind of cool tourist feature in New Hampshire is these ice castles and these ice caves that people travel from all over New England to come see them, and and naturally in a scenario like that, people are going to want to have their picture taken there too. Yeah. So this was a case of, we went inside this ice cave, and imagine going into a closet. It's not bright. It's an ice cave, and we're trying to take a portrait, and I wanted to show sort of all these, I saw them stalactites, but these icicles hanging down, and the space, while also trying to convey the theme or the feeling of being in this cold space. So what I used here was, there's two lights behind that. There's a center pillar that's in there, two lights behind that aimed up into the cave. You can sort of see the hot spot from behind it in the center there, with blue gels on it.
Nice.
To just give it that, it would have been a little bit gel, but it probably would have been a little bit more white without the gel on it.
Yeah.
And then for the couple, it's basically just a grid with a sphere on it. I wasn't that worried about spilling because I'm going to be trying to fill the whole room with light anyway. But the big consideration here was, the dozens and dozens of people that just kept walking through the scene, so I didn't have space to put a big softbox up or anything like that. I'm literally have this flash on a stand resting against the wall of ice, and just kind of trying to twist it and keep it from falling over as people walk through, and you're just waiting for that frame where it's like, okay, no one's in it, go.
Yeah.
And then you're out of there.
I love how in this shot, a lot of times you'd mentioned being kind of like in a dark closet, obviously you got to put some kind of light or something on them. Sometimes as photographers, we say, oh, we'll just boost our ISO, we'll lower our aperture, we'll bring in as much light as possible. But the problem is, on a shot like this, then you lose like icicles behind them out of focus looks like nothing. I mean, you can't even make out what it is. A tree, you can make out what it is. It looks nice. It's out of focus, etc. But icicles, you got to have some kind of focus on it in order to really show off the incredible environment, the background behind them. So to me, it's like you have to, stop down your aperture a little bit, whatever it is, to be able to bring more into focus. Again, I'm not sure exactly what you had there, but in order to do that, then they're going to be dark. And you can kind of, imagine if that light wasn't on them, they would be like this dark, just, you wouldn't hardly be able to see their faces over in the corner. So
yeah, I mean, you probably could have shot like a silhouette of them with the backlights behind them, but I wanted them to still be the focus of the picture. And I think in that context, and that's why you mostly see these silhouettes where the light is directly behind the couple, because that draws your eyes right to them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to highlight the space and then also have them be a focus over there on the side. And again, it was getting this space, and I think it achieved that, and the blue gels particularly helped convey that sense of cold, as opposed to just white hanging there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tremendous shot. So Eric, here you had this incredible environment to work with. Tell me about this next photograph. We were kind of talking previously before we started recording here, and you were kind of telling me like this was one of those where I feel like I really didn't have anything to work with, but we were able to kind of pull something together. So tell us, kind of give us a setup for this next shot, and then we'll have it pop up on the screen.
Yeah, so this next image, I mean, everybody, if you're a wedding photographer, you've been in a situation where you feel like you walk into a room or you walk into a space and you got nothing to work with. It's kind of like make magic out of ugliness. This particular day, I was working with Jamie Ivins, who I think you've talked to in the past. So
yeah,
great shooter.
Great guy. Yeah.
It's fun to collaborate with other awesome people. And, so
Always.
Jamie and I are walking around this venue like, what are we going to do? Like, we got to come up with something. And, what I landed on were there were these cool, well, actually they were cool. They were warm, these lantern torch heater things out on the porch to help. This was an October day in New Hampshire, which October in other places like Arizona might not be cold, but in New Hampshire that could be pretty chilly.
You know what? We do get those though. I know exactly what you're talking about. Those little torch things that have that basically
so it's
like people
glowing.
Warmers. Yeah,
but it's not pretty. Like there's nothing pretty about it. But it does its thing. But looking at it, it's like, okay, but we can use that. We can light paint a little bit with this. Yeah. And so what I was going for is I need to add something, some texture, something to this image, this nighttime portrait that the couple wanted, without having anything, say, static to work with. So what I ended up doing was just slowing the shutter down a whole lot, and like literally just like twisting the camera.
Yeah.
But the key here was, again, I was using a MagGrid because I really had to control the light. You can see a little bit of stray light coming on them, but like either side of them are like high top tables. You've got the railing of the porch nearby. Like I just didn't need this spill. Otherwise, it would be like, oh, there's sort of this ghostly table chair thing that's coming through the frame, as opposed to just the light, which was what I wanted. So, similar to that first image where I really needed to control the spill of light, here I needed to as well, because I wanted them lit, and then I just wanted to add this light painting texture around them to give this motion and this dynamicism to the image.
Yeah, I love it. One thing I just want to mention, did you use rear curtain sync on this?
It's funny. I would love to use rear curtain sync, but as anyone that shoots Canon knows, you can't rear curtain sync and off-camera flash at the same time.
Yes,
with
the Canon 600s.
Something they haven't built into it with the 600s. Yeah. So I tend to just use front curtain sync, and just sometimes it fails miserably, and other times it works.
Yeah, no, well, it worked great here. And
if you're on the dance floor, it works fine. If you're just using like the on-camera light aimed right at me, I do that all the time with a grid on it, just wandering around and panning the camera and all that. That works fine because you're using your on-camera flash as your source. But when you want to use off-camera, it just doesn't work so well with Canon.
You're right. No, that's fantastic. I bet the couple was super stoked. And what's really fun is when you do this kind of stuff in camera and turn it around and show it to them, they're just like,
oh yeah, they just see you sitting there like shaking like a crazy person. They have no idea what you're doing, and then you show them, and they're like, "Oh,
you're a wizard."
Yeah, that's what we're gonna go with that.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, Eric, this has been fantastic. There's one last photograph, and I'm actually stoked to talk about this. I know when we were in the pre-interview, just kind of chatting a little bit about it. You said it's very simple, but I'm like, that's exactly what people love. That's exactly what people want to, be able to do, is just go out and create amazing images very simply. Done. So tell us about this last photograph with the couple on the beach here.
Yeah. So of all of them, it was probably the easiest one in the context of I didn't have to think too hard about what to do. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to bounce light off glass or rotating a camera, or I don't have to light up an ice cave or something. But I wanted to. This sort of late sunset. So, the sun is already down, and we were kind of walking back along the beach, and we actually ran across some other people having a campfire, and we totally invaded it. But
oh, really? So this is someone's campfire going on?
Yeah. That's funny. We totally invaded their campfire. But so I wanted to capture the sunset behind them, the fire in front of them, and I wanted them to stand out on it, but I didn't want to light up the beach and the grass and all of that. I really just wanted it to be like a pinpoint light on them. So I actually used the snoot for this. Which nice. I've used occasionally for portraits. I use it pretty much every single wedding day for ring shots and details like that. But you can kind of see that hard light line coming across like her hand and into his back. But it does a good job of separating the couple from the fire and sort of the darkness that's beneath them. So they're just kind of out there. But it was super simple, and I tend to. With couples in this situation, like, I lit it from, let's see, it would be their left side. So behind the gentleman, because I'm going to probably almost always try to short light the female. And even though they're right at each other, you can see a little bit more shadow on his face.
Yeah.
That's just more to my style. Is I just want to short light her.
So you shot this camera right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
The flashes camera right?
Correct. Yeah. Flash camera right behind him, sort of off to the shooter's right side. And it was just the snoot to really control that light, which, I was thrilled about. I mean, there was any light that's spilling on the ground is from the fire, which is what I wanted. I just wanted that warm glow of the fire that sort of merges into the orange of the sunset.
Yep.
And then they're just kind of back there having a moment.
That's awesome. I again, for those photographers watching this and trying to figure out kind of when they're building compositions and color and things like that, there's something here that really works well. One, that lighting on them is perfect. Two, I love the contrast between the blue and the orange. So you got these two complementary colors that just contrast each other perfectly. I think had you not opened your shutter enough to get the sky behind them, in other words, if it would have been dark behind them, it wouldn't have been nearly as impactful. Yeah. And then the third thing that really stands out to me is how you see the couple in the clean space, is what I typically will call it, that clean space behind them. So you got those clouds and you got this formation of cloud there, and then they just happen to fit right inside this area where there's nice clean area, where you don't have like lines crossing through them and stuff. And I don't know if that was a purposeful decision on your point or if it was just a happy accident, but it works. Put all that stuff together and it works out really nice.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I think there, at least for me, there's, you try to put as much thought into it as you can. For example, like if you look at the clouds, everything's kind of flowing in towards them, and then you've got the fire that's kind of flowing up towards them. So there's sort of this motion that all kind of comes towards them.
Yeah.
But the happy accident in that is that I just lucked out that that's the way it was. You just kind of look for it.
I love it. I think it turned out fantastic, and I just love how, like you said, how it's simple. But and then also, I think it's just to reiterate, you mentioned the mag snoot. Like, what a great way of thinking. Like, I just want to pinpoint a light. I just want a little bit of light to make them kind of stand out from this fire. I don't want it to like overwhelm the scene, but I just want to complement something here.
I mean, you could potentially like stack gels and get a similar, effect.
The grids, stack the grids.
Excuse me, the grids, stack the grids and get something similar. But the one thing in doing that is it really, you end up with much more of a defined like rectangle the more you stack. At least that's what I've noticed. So here that probably could have worked, but I've used the snoot in other spots where I really need like a pinpoint. I need that circular pinpoint because there's going to be a little bit of spill, but you want there to be some uniformity to it. And,
no, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, hey, Eric, this has been awesome. And again, every single time I do these, every single week, I learn so much from different photographers. And I just want to encourage everybody, when you're watching these videos, if this is stuff that you want to continue learning from every single week, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the MagMod channel. Turn on a little bell notification so that you find out when these come out. Because again, I'm lucky. I get a chance to do these, so I get to watch every single one of them. I feel like I'm super fortunate in that sense. Because every single time I learn something, and then I get to I have a new lighting setup, the McCallister, that I can use on my next shoot. So
yeah, well, and thank you for doing this. Thank you for having me. But also, you get to watch them. I love watching them every week too. So I mean, it's a great resource that MagMod's putting out there for everybody. So thank you. I think no matter how much we shoot or how many weddings we've done or how many portraits we've done, we all have things to learn, and it's just fantastic. Seeing them and seeing how other people do the cool stuff they do.
Couldn't agree more, man. Eric, you're right there, man. You kill it. Your photos are incredible. We appreciate having you on here. And just so everyone can go find you again, McCallisterPhoto.com. Go to check him out, Eric McCallister on Instagram. You can go check out his beautiful family as well. So, Eric, you rock. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.